Hey guys, give me just a second here. I'm just kind of getting set up. So getting all my volume turned down and all that stuff. I tell you what, Mondays are a little tough to do these things. Here we go. So, hey guys, so Redx, I get a lot of questions about Redx and actually what it is. So what I thought I would do was rather than just keep telling you guys, I would actually show you guys what Redx is, how to use it, how I'm using it, and I give you some tips on how to be really successful with it. So let's see. So Redx is it is a data site. Well, let me see if I can get my screen to go away here. There we go. So Redx Redx is a data provider. So it's a little bit different. It's not like Zillow, it's not like ZBuy or anything like that, because what Redx actually does is Redx, for the most part, goes out and mines a lot of data, right? So they don't have like forms set up on a website anywhere where they're doing like pay-per click or Facebook ads or anything like that. These guys are actually going out there. They're getting a list of, say, like expireds, right? They get a list of all the expireds that pull from your MLS, and then they take and they use an algorithm and all this stuff. They have all these really smart people working for them. And what they do is they take those addresses, the tax map information and all that stuff, and they somehow or another match it up with phone numbers, right? And they're numbers that were at some point, somehow, in some database, they were somehow associated with that address, right? So a lot of agents, they'll look at expired data and they go, oh, I don't want to use this company or I don't want to use that company because all the leads are bad. Well, here's the thing. With expired data, here's the difference between expired data, like for sale by owners, or using like Zillow or ZBuy or something like that. At like for sale by owners, you're going to get probably like 95% of the information, probably 99% of the information is correct. And the reason why it's correct is because it's user inputted data, right? That for sale by owner went on a website somewhere. They put in their cell phone number, they put in their email address, and they actually inputted their own data. Redx data, expired data, is different. Expired data is data that basically somewhere looked, some computer algorithm mined a database and found it, right? So what Redx offers a lot of different data. Now they do offer for sale by owners and for rent by owners. And the thing about this is the for sale by owners, when you subscribe to their for sale by owner program, there for $29.99, you can actually get access to their entire database. So let's say for your market, if they've been mining for sale by owners for 3 or 4 years, you can actually go back and get that 3 or 4 years worth of data. And a lot of that cell phone numbers, they have some email addresses in there, just whatever data was provided, you can actually have access to for $30 a month. So guys, for rent by owner data is the same way. Now, I know a lot of people in my group, you guys don't have expireds, you don't have a lot of the stuff that you have in a normal market because your markets are on fire. So what they offer is geo leads. And what geo leads is, it's basically a neighborhood search. So what you have is you can drop a pin somewhere and it basically pulls up all the phone numbers and all the information for, I think it's up to 200 addresses that are around the pin that you dropped. Right, so it's great for calling neighborhoods, it's great for circle prospecting, it's great for calling before open houses and things like that. So now they do have pre-foreclosure data. Now, back a few years ago, there was a lot more short sales and there was a lot more of that stuff going on. There's not quite as much of it right now, but this data is actually where they are getting notice of defaults directly from your local county, and they are looking up information based on those. So now the expired data and stuff, what it actually does is they do cross-check your MLS, and I think it's on a daily basis. So it does weed out the ones that get listed. However, sometimes it's like a day behind, and sometimes, you know, if the agent doesn't actually relist it, it doesn't really get back in there. Now, this is what I use. I use Storm Dialer. Storm Dialer fully integrates into the platform. It's easy to use, and it's $100 a month, and I can do all my stuff there. Now, so it doesn't matter what lead source you get from them. You get what's called Vortex. Vortex is free, and it's a prospecting platform. I'm going to show you what it is. Now, the service that I use a service that's a little bit different than what they offer on that website. It's their premium service. It's called Onyx. Now, here's the thing about Onyx. Onyx it's basically, they call it high octane. What they did was they measured, they come up with this formula. They call it octane. What it is when they call one number, they call a list of numbers morning, noon, and night, and then they only call 3 times, and they gauge it based on the number of actual owners that actually own the property that picked up the phone, right? So Onyx, they claim Onyx has been testing like 45 to 50% correct. Now, an average expired service is going to be like 15 to 20% correct. Most of the competition they're testing Onyx against is only 15 to 20% correct. Now, here's the thing about Onyx, and this is actually what I like. Okay, when you get a lead with Onyx, okay, let's click on one of these here so we can go down and see it. And these are new expireds. I just pulled them up today. Like, okay, when you get a lead, okay, you get a lot of information. Okay, like this person right here, I got 1, 2, 3, I got 5 phone numbers, and I got 2 email addresses. Okay, what Onyx does is Onyx gives you all the information that they have in their database, or their databases that are associated with that particular address, address and tax map address, right? So your first pass, the first calls that you make to this, you're going to weed out some numbers. Now, the ones at the top are the ones most likely to be the owners, most likely to be Michael Hardy, right? Okay, the ones at the bottom are least likely. But lots of times I find that, you know what, I might not get Michael Hardy on one of these phone numbers, but I'm going to get a number that's associated with Michael Hardy. So what I might end up getting is I don't get him, but I get his wife, right? Or I get somebody else that lives in the household. So at least I have a contact number for somebody that lives in the household of Michael Hardy. So your first pass through this, what you're doing is you're actually cleaning data, right? But what this is going to do, most services only give you like 1 or 2 numbers, right? Or 1, you know, lots of times if you're lucky, you'll get 1. But what this does, it allows you to go through the data yourself, and it allows you to decide what numbers are correct and what numbers are not correct. And it basically gives you a chance to get some of those hard to reach expireds that a lot of services don't. So what this allows you to do is it not only allows you, let's look at another one. Let's look at this one right here. What it allows you to do is not only look at this one. This has got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got 7 numbers. It's got 2 email addresses. Campbell. Yeah, but it's got 7 numbers. It's got 2 email addresses. These are most likely. There's some cell phone numbers in there. Let's see. Let's look at. Let's go look at another one. Sorry about that. I kind of lost my train of thought. Let's look at this one. This one right here. 869,000. 869,000. Okay. Now what this also does is it allows me to schedule follow-up calls, right? So let's see. I'm calling. We find out that This 908 number is actually Arlene Bracco. Oh, look at this too. Arlene Bracco, right? Arlene Bracco. We've got an email address that is abracco@cs.com. So more than likely, that's probably their email address. Let's see. Then we got one, Ronald. bronald@msn.com. So yeah, bronald. So more than likely, we probably have both email addresses there. Now, this is with their Onyx platform. But what this allows you to do too is say 908, hey, this number right here is their correct number. Okay, it allows you right from here to go ahead and set a callback. When do you want to follow up with these people, right? So it allows you to do it right there. Okay, now another thing that Vortex allows you to do, and you get this with all of them, is allows you to set up filters. Like, I live close to Georgetown. Georgetown's a little bit on the outskirts of my market. It allows me to set up a filter. If I want to dial these numbers, all I do, I hit the dial button. Actually, you know what? Got to select them. Let's see. There we go. I select them, hit the dial button. No, I don't want to resume my previous campaign. Does this? I'm not going to dial here this morning, but I hit go. I choose to call all the numbers. I only want to. I got it set so it only dials the first 4. It's more than likely I've got them in that. Now, some of these numbers right here, these are things that I've actually set up myself. But and that's it. That's really how easy it is to use. How easy it is to use Onyx and how easy it is to use Vortex and all that stuff. So, guys, I got a couple of things here I want to show you. This is my Redx. I want to show you exactly what I'm doing to get listings and how you guys can be more successful with this sort of data. Redx, like I said, it's a little bit different platform than what. Sorry about that. I was getting a call there. It's a little bit different platform than some of these because it is mine data. It's not user-generated data. So what exactly is Redx data? I just told you guys. I put the slide in there. I put the slide together last night. So what exactly is Redx data? It's mine data, right? So typically, if you're using Onyx, they're testing at 45 to 50% correct numbers. The competition is like 15 to 20% correct numbers. You may have more than 50% if you call more than 3 times. How to be successful with Redx, guys. Let's see. How do you make contact with these leads? Number one, you got to make contact with these leads. And the way to do it, what I prefer is phone calls, text, and email. Right now, you can also send mail. You can door knock. I'm not going to go into all these things this morning because I know it's Monday and you guys have a lot of stuff going on. So I want to just give you kind of some tips, a simple phone script. I'm going to give you a simple text script and some other tips here. But phone calls, text, emails, you can mail to them, you can door knock, and you can keep up with all that stuff in Vortex. Now, why phone calls? I put phone calls number 1 because this is the most trusted contact method we have. Now, I'll tell you, one thing I like, the new expireds are tough. I mean, they're going to be tough on you. They're getting a lot of calls today. It's 8 o'clock. There's agents hammering these numbers right now on the phone. Now, I'll tell you, after those things expire and after it's been 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, those calls really, really start slowing down. So keep up with the people. Call today, but call 90 days from today too. But phone calls are the most trusted method of communicating with these people. And guys, my expired script and my scripts are pretty simple and they're pretty much the same. Hey, Mr. Seller, this is Jason Morris with eXp Realty. Are you still wanting to sell the house at blank? Wait for their response. That's great. What will you take for it? You already have the listing information right there. You have all the information there. The thing that a lot of agents miss out on is when they're making calls, you're only calling to set an appointment. You're not calling. You're not going to get the listing over the phone. more than likely these people do not know you. Think about this. How likely are you to buy something from a telemarketer that you have never talked to? What you're doing is you're making calls to set an appointment. You're not making calls to get the listing, right? So that's great. What you take for it? How soon do you want to sell it? They were hoping they were going to sell it 6 months ago. And a lot of these people, if you're calling expireds, they're probably a little bit disgruntled. They feel like they're let down. They're angry. Their last agent lied to them. Their agent told them all this stuff that just did not happen. And they're a little bit upset. They just feel like they're let down. They've been let down. Some of them go put it on Craigslist. They got 10 calls yesterday, and they're going, oh, man, I did better than my agent did. So, but how soon do you want to sell it? Great. I can sell it for you. I want to stop by today at 5 o'clock. Will you be home? What's your email address? I want to send you over some information just so you know who's coming by. You got to always, in your script that you're using, whether you're just using the simple script here that I have, whatever you're using, make it simple, to the point. You're only prospecting for an appointment, right? You always want to dictate the time. If you say, I think the number one objection that we have as agents is one of the number one objections we have is an objection that we create ourselves. And that is, we're on the phone with the husband and wife and we go, well, what time's a good time to meet you? And they go, oh, I'm sorry. I got to talk to my wife, or I got to talk to my husband and get back to you. Let me call you back. And they hang up the phone. You just gave them an opening for an objection that's hard to back up and overcome. You just gave them that opening for it, and they took it, and they are not going to call you back, because as soon as you hang up, if you're calling brand new expireds, as soon as they hang up with you, they got another one calling right behind you, right? So you always want to dictate what time you're coming. Think of it when you go to your dentist. You don't call your dentist up and they say, well, Jason, gosh, just come on whenever you feel like it. No, they go, hey, we got an opening Thursday at 2, right? And that's what they do. We got an opening Thursday at 2. So I always ask what their email address is. That way, and I always send over my pre-listing package. Now, here's some tips for making phone calls that'll help you. Number one, do not try to list the property over the phone or get a commitment over the phone. List it with your sales system. You're calling to get an appointment. And this is what I teach in my group coaching, as I teach these sales systems that you need to use to get an appointment. I teach sales systems that actually work. They're cost effective. They're easy to use. They're easy to understand, and they're easy to implement. But don't try to list the property over the phone or get a commitment over the phone. And that's what happens to a lot of agents. And I hear it, and I see it even in some agents' Facebook Lives when they're making calls. What they do is they try to get the person to commit over the phone. Basically, they're going, hey, if I come to your house, you're going to list with me, right? And then the person basically goes, no. And they say, oh, I'm not setting an appointment that's not pre-qualified. Now, here's the thing with pre-qualified appointment. They want to sell the house. You know how much they want to sell the house for, and you know a time frame for them. What other things do you need to pre-qualify? I mean, I think it's insane to think that this person is going to commit to selling the biggest asset they own with you. They're going to commit to somebody over the phone that they've never met. You need to set an appointment and then list it with your sales system. Send your pre-listing package. Call the next day. Ask them if they have any questions. Provide something of value. Show up. You have 4 presentations during every listing appointment. You have your listing presentation, your net sheet presentation, your pricing presentation, your paperwork presentation. And believe me, if you don't know how to walk through a house with somebody, right, and talk to them about selling their house and what problems and issues that might arise, if you don't know how to actually present them something in writing showing what they're going to put in their pocket and what they're going to walk away from, if you don't know how to properly present a pricing strategy and how we came up with the price that we put on the market, I mean, some agents just show up and they magically come up with a number 135. And they might as well say, when the seller goes, how did you come up with that number? They might as well go, I don't know. It just sounded like a good number. It was round. It's all even. It's all odd numbers, 135, 135, So, and then if you don't know how to go through your paperwork process, if you guys are going on appointments, you get there, and at the end of the appointment, they loved you, they liked everything you talked about, and then at the end of the appointment, you go down through the paperwork, their eyes are like they're about to roll back in their head, and the husband and wife look at each other and they go, "Oh, we got to think about this." More than likely, it's because of the way that you explained the paperwork and went down through it. All of us, you guys need to practice going down through your paperwork so that it's an easy, simple method so that anybody can understand. Because remember, the listing agreement is actually a legal document. And that's the problem that most of us don't understand. We see this thing all the time. We sit through these classes with our brokers. We do all this stuff, and we see it all the time. We live, we breathe, and we eat real estate, most of us. But the thing is, this is a legal document. These people that you're meeting with, more than likely, they've never seen this paperwork before, right? And more than likely, they don't look at legal documents all the time. So, guys, I don't want to keep you too long. I know it's Monday morning, but number two, you need to be very confident, right? If you're real nervous, you're real timid, you're saying you're saying and, you don't know your script, you don't know your dialogues, you don't know what to say when you're on the phone, you're not using a script, it's hard to be confident, right? When you're just shooting from the hip and saying whatever you want to say. And guys, I'll tell you, when I first started the real estate business, I was the same way. I didn't use scripts, right? I said, I don't need scripts because, scripts make you sound like you're scripted. I want people to know I'm real, And then what would happen is I'd get on the phone, I'd basically say whatever I felt like saying, say whatever I felt like they wanted to hear. I'd show up at the house, they wouldn't list the house with me, and I was probably lucky to get 2 out of 10 listing appointments. Now the thing was, I didn't use scripts, I didn't use a canned presentation, I didn't really use a pricing strategy. The paperwork, I'd go over it word for word like a lot of other agents do nowadays. I'd go over it word for word. I'd tell the same crazy stories my broker told me in the class, and I'd relay those, and people would love me. They'd invite me to dinner. They'd invite me to they would invite me to do things with them. They wanted to be my friend, but they would go list their property with somebody else because I wasn't practicing my scripts and dialogues. Number three, when you're making these calls, you pick the time to meet. Don't ask when works for you. There's never a time that works. Number four, when you're making calls, you want to make sure it's in the background. It's hard to hear over the phone sometimes. You want to make sure they understand you. You want to make sure that you understand them correctly. If you're in a loud room, you got kids screaming in the background, you got the TV turned up. For me, my biggest pet peeve when I get a sales call is I can hear the TV playing in the background, right? That is the worst thing for me. Number five, you got to follow the script. You guys have to have a script. If you're using the same script over and over again, you're going to get to where, all the answers to all your questions, all the objections you're going to get, and you're going to build that muscle memory so you can overcome those and you can answer those questions quickly and confidently. There is not a class for sellers teaching them new objections, right? Follow the script. The biggest problem most of you guys are having right now is you're not following a script, or you pick a script, use it for 2 weeks, you hear about something magical in a Facebook group or on the internet, and you go, oh man, I'm going to quit using this script that I'm already just getting comfortable with, and I'm going to use this new script over here because somebody says it's got a magic question, right? Pick a script, follow the script, right? Number six, pay attention when you're on the call. We've all done this. I've been guilty of this. Man, I'll have my Vortex storm dialer going. I'll have me some some YouTube music playing in the background, and I'm just like rocking out, or I'm listening to some kind of motivational thing, and I'm paying attention to that, making notes. And as the person's talking, I'm not paying attention to nothing they say. And then I ask a stupid question. Guys, the thing that can help you the most is if you pay attention on your calls, listen to the way they're talking to you, listen to how they're talking to you, listen to how they're responding to questions, not just what they're saying when they respond, but how they respond. When you start doing this, and you've been doing it long enough that you can pick up on those little verbal cues, the pace of their speech and different stuff like that, there's a lot of value and there's a lot of power in being able to understand how somebody's reacting to something, right? Number 7, have a good attitude. Have a good attitude about it. Guys, if you're around negative people, you're going to be negative, and that's going to show through on the phone, right? If you're upset, you're pissed off, you're angry when you're calling, you're like, oh, I don't know why I got to do this, that sort of stuff. If you don't have a good attitude, it's you're just not going to do well. You're not going to be motivated. You're not going to make the number of calls you need to. Number 8, you got to be friendly on the phone. I know there's a lot of scripts and a lot of dialogues where it's like you're trying to stump the chump, you're trying to make the seller feel stupid. Yeah, there's even a script out there where you're going, oh, do you know what the definition of insanity is? It's doing the same thing over and over again. It's one of the big coaches has a script that's like that. Guys, these sellers, if you're calling expires, right? You're calling expires, you're calling pre-foreclosures, a lot of these lead sources. These guys don't want to work with somebody that's going to make them feel stupid. I mean, that's it. If you're talking down to them and telling them how they're wrong about something, blatantly, if there's a problem, if you're going to tell somebody there's a problem, you need to tell them what the solution is, right? And guys, it's really that easy. It's really that easy. I got one or two more tips here I want to share with you. But guys, look here. If you're wanting to call expired, you're wanting to call for sale owners, you want to be more consistent with your prospecting. If you make it too hard, you're not going to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I always recommend tools and stuff like Redx, like ZBuyer, like that. So when you open up your laptop, you're just ready to go in the morning, right? If you are using some other service where you're having to manually look up numbers, or you're having to manually find people to call and find people to work with, and you're spending 2 and 3 hours, and believe me, I used to do this when I first started real estate. We didn't have tools like Redx. We didn't have things like Onyx. So I would end up looking up numbers 2 or 3 hours at night to be able to call for like an hour in the morning. And I mean, it was painful. And guys, sometimes I'd get home and I'd just be tired. I didn't want to look up numbers. So what would happen is I didn't have any new numbers to call in the morning. All right. If you make it too hard, you're just not going to do it. Now, text. Now, if you're using a high quality service like Onyx, you're going to get a lot of cell phone numbers too. Now, like Onyx, if you have those where you get 5, 6, 7 numbers, I don't recommend texting all those because that's a lot of texting, number one. But when you're calling down through, you're calling, Sally Jones, for example. First number is somebody that says, you've reached the cell phone of Sally Jones, or, the voicemail says Sally Jones on it. When you leave a voicemail, I would send a text to that number too. You leave a voicemail, you send a text, hey, Miss Jones, calling about your house that was for sale. When is a good time to call you back? Make it really simple. You don't text every single number. Don't text anybody first, guys. They don't know who you are. When you get a random unsolicited text from somebody, do you text them back? It doesn't make sense to. Guys, here's another thing here. When you use a pre-listing package, if you don't have one, you can download my template for free at Jason Morris pre-listing package. Guys, this is your brochure of services that you use. This is what you do for a client. It's going to do a lot of stuff for you, guys, but one of the things it's going to do for you the most is it's going to make you look like a professional. It's going to make you stand out because look here, 99% of agents have nothing at all to send their client. They have nothing that tells about them, their team, and what they do to sell houses. So what typically happens is they just don't have anything, so they don't send anything. So you've got a written marketing plan. It's easy to tell a seller, hey, Mr. Seller, I know that you're interviewing another agent. Gosh, why don't you ask them for their marketing plan too? That way you can lay ours side by side, and you can decide who's going to do the most for you, and decide who's got a plan that you think is going to work. Wait for them to say they don't have one, or they haven't sent them from. And they go, oh my gosh, I hope they're just not going to stick a sign out front and put on MLS. Just hope for the best, right? 99% of clients have nothing, or 99% of agents have nothing at all to send a client. Now, Guys, this brochure, now this is an idea that I've just developed over years of being in coaching, 12, 13 years of being in the real estate business. Guys, we don't really sell houses. We sell a service that sells houses. We just get paid on that service's performance. This is why you have to have this pre-listing package that tells about the service you offer, because the easiest way to do high volume listings is to have a system that is scalable, that is cost effective, that you're doing for every single listing, right? A lot of agents, one of the biggest problems I have, and this is one of the reasons why I've started doing group coaching, a lot of agents have systems that just are not financially scalable, right? And I see the post in my group and stuff, real estate agents that really work. Agents will go out here and they'll go, oh, you got to have a professional photographer for every listing. Well, a professional photographer charges 150, 200 bucks. Some of them believe that you got to have staging. A staging professional is going to charge 150, 200 bucks. They think you got to have drone footage. They think you got to have the house that talks. You got to have flyers out in the front yard. And next thing you know, you realize that every listing you're taking is costing you $300 to $400 when you take the listing, whether the house sells or not. Well, here's the problem with that, especially for new agents. And I mean, this is experienced agents too, man. I don't want to bill like this. Hey, you go out here and you take 2 houses and it's costing you $250, and let's just say that's a low number, right? That's to hire a photographer, get a staging company to come out and do a consult, to do whatever it is. And you guys know $250 is cheap. You'll spend that driving back and forth, putting out flyers if you put out a flyer box. Okay, so you promise all these things and you take 2 listings. So that cost you $500 this month, right? A lot of new agents will go through this. They'll put themselves in these positions where the system they have to sell houses is not financially scalable for them. So they end up in a situation like, wow, I've had a great month. I listed 7 properties. I listed 8 properties. And then they're like, oh shit, that's $2,000. If I list another property, I'm not going to be able to pay the light bill. I'm not going to be able to pay my car payment because 8 properties times $250 a property is $2,000, right? And the thing is, the problem that most agents have is for some reason they think they need to lead with debt, right? Instead of lead with profit. I've never seen a seller on your average regular house in the average market. I've never heard a buyer, not a seller. I've never heard a buyer say, we really like the pictures on 123 Main Street, but damn, they didn't have drone footage. Let's just skip that one, right? Now, you need decent pictures, but you don't have to have a professional photographer for each one. You don't have to have the talking sign. You don't have to have a staging consult for every single listing, Guys, one of the biggest things with Redx, and this is really any lead source or lead service you guys have to have a follow-up system. Follow up, and you guys have heard me say this before, if you're not going to follow up with a lead, there's almost no need in making the first call. You're just wasting time. You've got to have a follow-up system, right? You got to expend all resources on follow-up because, and you got to do, this is a follow-up for leads. Actually, I got leads that you haven't talked to, but these leads, these expireds, these pre-foreclosures and stuff, as soon as you get a lead, you got to follow up every day, follow up different times. People are at work. Sometimes you leave a voicemail. A lot of agents don't follow up with shit. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Here's the purpose of follow-up. Guys, I have people that call me all the time. They're offering products. They're offering services. Sometimes they're offering things that I want, things I really want. And the reason I don't call them back, well, it's 2 reasons. Number 1, I forget about them. Number 2, I just don't have time. And when I do have time, I forget about them. So you got to follow up so people remember you. And just because you've been calling at 8 o'clock in the morning every morning and you're not getting somebody on the phone, maybe they're at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Maybe they're taking the kids to school when you're calling. Maybe they've got, I don't know, maybe they were sick this week. That's why they didn't call you back. But call, text, and email. I would use multiple forms of communication with these people and these lead sources, because that's how you're going to get in touch with them. Not everybody carries around their cell phone 24 hours a day. Not everybody checks their email 30 times a day. People with regular 8 to 5 jobs don't have to do this like we do. And they are, God, even some real estate agents, they don't choose to do it. They don't choose to live that 110% connected lifestyle. Number 3, don't hold back. I see this all the time with people that are making calls, they're doing stuff, they just hold back for whatever reason. They feel like they don't put it all out on the field, I guess is how to say. It's like they're playing football, but they don't want to run as hard as they can. They don't want to extend out a little bit more to get that catch. And I see agents do that. They won't push themselves, try to get a few more dials per hour, try to get a few more of something per hour. And that's one of the reasons why I use a dialer. There's no hesitation in making the next call. A lot of agents don't do the business they should be doing because they are holding back. For whatever reason, they've got some mental block and they're scared to just go all in. This is their only career, it's their full-time job, but they're scared to just go all in and work. So guys, if you haven't talked to the people, I'd follow up with them every day for the first week, try them multiple times a day, follow up weekly for about a month, follow up bi-weekly for a month or 2, then put them in some sort of long-term monthly follow-up program, whether it's a call, whether it's a call database, whatever it is you have. For leads that you have talked to, guys, you need to follow up quickly with them, right? If you talk to them on Monday and they tell you today, well, today's not a good day, call me later in the week, right? I would call them again on Tuesday. I would have some reason to, if I had a meaningful conversation with them on Monday, right? They talked with me, it was a pleasant call. They told me their deep, dark secrets. They told me down to the penny what they wanted with a house, and they said, call me later in the week. And it's Monday, and I talked to them this morning. I would call them tomorrow. And my call to them tomorrow would be something like, hey, Mr. Seller, this is Jason Morris with eXp Realty. I was looking through MLS this morning. I was doing a little bit of research, and I'm going to tell you what, I was looking at your neighborhood. Gosh, so-and-so down the street just went under contract. 3 went under contract this weekend. Whatever it is, I'd find some interesting piece of information that gives value to them, whether it's a house going under contract, a house just closing in their neighborhood. You told me this about your house, and I'm looking at one down the street. I know you want $150 for it. If we put it on the market right now, the cheapest one in your neighborhood's $165. I know yesterday wasn't a good day for it. Can we meet today, right? And if they tell you, hey, today's not a good day. Well, how about Wednesday? Try on that call. Try, for a long time, and I still do this. I've burned this into my brain. Lots of times, most calls I make, I will make 3 attempts to set an appointment. Oh, you can't meet today. Oh man. How about tomorrow? Would tomorrow work for you guys? Gosh, well, do you have a day off this week? That's a great question. Do you typically work from 8 to 5? And that's a question. You've got a regular job, you work 8 to 5? No problem. Well, I'll tell you what about tomorrow at 5:30? Oh, you know what? Let's do it at 6 o'clock. That way you got plenty of time to get home and kind of get settled a little bit before I come over. Does that work for you? But I'd follow up quick. I'd follow up often, build value on each call, something of value to call them, a house going on the market, a house going under contract. All of a sudden their house they want $150 for it. All of a sudden, the cheapest one in the neighborhood's $165. I would build value or offer something of value with each call. Every call too, you need to stay confident. Okay, a lot of agents will get beat up a little bit, and it's easy to do. Man, I get beat up a little bit after 12, 13 years of making calls. Some days just suck, guys. Some days everybody answers the phone and everybody loves you. Some days nobody answers the phone. So you don't have to worry about anybody being mean to you because nobody picks up the damn thing. And then some days everybody answers the phone and everybody's mean to you. And you're going to have one of those 3 times every single day, right? Some days are 50-50. You know, some days you get a nice person, you get a mean person, but you know, more than likely everybody's going to pick up the phone and be nice to you. Nobody's going to pick up the phone, or people are going to pick up the phone and be mean to you. But now here's the thing though. When I say being mean to you, most of these people, especially if you're calling pre-foreclosures or you're calling expireds, most of these people, they're not mad at you. That's really not directed at you. They're mad at the situation they put themselves in. They're mad at that last listing agent that promised them the world. That last agent, you know, more than likely, most people, when they put their house on the market, they put their house on the market and decide they're going to sell it because they have a problem, right? They believe that selling that house is going to fix that problem. And they hired an agent, and that agent let them down. And in some cases, they still have that problem, whatever it is. Now, that problem, a lot of times, it may be something that's none of our business, you know. It may be they need to get a hospital bill paid off. They need to get grandma in a nursing home. They need to upsize, downsize, move sideways, move for a job. I mean, their problem could be so many things. But chances are they've got a problem. And for whatever reason, they feel like selling that house is going to solve that problem. Guys, every call you make, every follow-up call, you need to have a sense of urgency, and you need to build that sense of urgency, right? I mean, right now, the market is on fire across most of the country. And I'm going to tell you this right now, this market is not going to last forever. You know, we see a lot of crazy stuff in the news. We see a lot of crazy stuff happen in the world, and I promise you, we are one major war away or one major terrorist attack on U.S. soil away from going into another recession. That person right now, if you guys are in California, that person right now that's thinking that their house is worth $550 and they're trying to hold out for $600, yeah, they might can get $600. This market may last a lot longer than what I think it is, but more than likely it is not. Historically, these sort of markets don't last more than like 18 months, right? 18, 24 months is about all you have in a really, really hot market. So every follow-up call needs to have that sense of urgency. Now, you can't really tell your clients that, but you can tell them, hey guys, you know, if you're in a market where sales are slowing down, you can tell them that, because there are markets where sales are slowing down. If you're in markets where, you know, whatever's happening is happening, you know, that's a great thing too. I'll tell you this. One of the big things we're going to see happen though in the real estate market is we're going to see where the banks with Frank Dodd, the banks are going to do something with student loans where they're not going to be calculated at 1 to 2% of the balance. If you're in a deferment, we're going to see something like that. And it's going to bring a lot more buyers into the market. So these people you think are overpriced today, once that happens, all of a sudden there's going to be a lot more buyers in the market. These people that you think are overpriced, I seen there was a post made, would you take an overpriced listing? Well, here's the thing. It depends on how much is overpriced, but hell yeah, I would. You know, hey, look, if it's a $150,000 house and you look up the neighborhood, you look up a mile radius and there's 3 houses under 175 and your client wants to list it for 169.9, oh yeah, I would take that. I would not hesitate. You know what? Yeah, you look at the comps, you look at stuff in the neighborhood, it looks like that house is $20,000 overpriced, but you pull up a mile or 2 mile radius and at 169, the price they want, you know, you feel like it's worth 150, you need to get 169 for it to get what they want. And you pull up a 2 mile radius and there's 3 houses under 175, and we all know that's happening right now in your market. Yes, you take that listing. That listing in a typical market, a lot of you guys are looking at that and they're going, oh man, that's 10, 15% overpriced. Who cares, right? If you guys are in these really, really high-end markets like California and you're figuring that house is worth $550, they want to put it on the market for $600 or $625, and you're pulling it up and there's 3 homes under $650 in that area, right? You list that house, because that house, even though you think it's overpriced today, It may not be overpriced in 30, 60 days from now. There is a buyer looking right now in that school district, in that neighborhood, in that area, and more than likely the next house that's going to sell is going to be the cheapest one, right? So if there's three houses in that neighborhood or in that, say, 1 mile radius that are under 175,000, and yours is at 169.9, the other one's at 160, and the other one's at 155, I tell you what, yours probably won't be the next one to sell unless it's got some features. But after that $155,000 house is sold, and it's between yours for 169.9 and another one for 160, you guys have a pretty good shot at selling. All of a sudden, you're not overpriced anymore. Or if that 155 house sells, the 160 house sells, and now all of a sudden you're the cheapest, you're the only house under 175. Guys, that's happening in a lot of your markets. List that house, guys. But you got to call, text, and email. So every follow-up you make needs to have a sense of urgency, all right? I want to go over one thing here because I think this is, I got two more things I want to cover real quick, two more thoughts because I think these are really important. And I planned this is going to be like 30, 40 minutes. It's almost been an hour. But guys, you got to build a tough mindset. And here's how you do it. This is 10 tips to building a tough mindset. Number one, you need to role play your scripts. You need to role play all your scripts, your paperwork script. You need to role play going over your net sheet, role play going over your pricing strategy. Look at my book, How to Be a FSBO Master. Practice my pricing strategy, practice the net sheet thing. You need to practice. You need to role play objections. Think about this, guys. If you guys are role playing objections, there's two main objections that we all get that are in every single market. They're probably number 1 and 2, and I don't even want to say which one's number 2. But those two objections are we don't want to work with a real estate agent and we don't want to pay a real estate commission, right? What would happen to your business and how would it change your calls if you started role playing those two objections 3 times a week for 30 minutes with 3 different people, right? You had Monday, Wednesday, Friday role play partners, and you role played those 3 objections every single week. All right. Get an accountability partner. Get somebody that you don't know. It's a lot easier to be accountable to somebody you don't know than your buddy that sits across from you in the cubicle or sits in the cubicle on the other side of you. It's a lot easier to get accountability partner that you do not know than it is to use your friend. It's a lot easier to stick with role playing if you're not using your friend too. Number 4. Get enough sleep. I tell you what, the quickest and easiest way for me to doubt myself and doubt what I'm doing is to not get enough sleep. Number 5, read. Read. I tell you what, the biggest reason that I read stuff right now, I'm reading Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week. The biggest reason that I read is it helps me build a tough mindset. It helps me stay positive. It gives me ideas and it keeps my mind going and it doesn't let my mind wander or drift towards things that are negative. Number 6, listen to motivational material. YouTube is absolutely full of it. Number 7, get into some sort of coaching program. Guys, I offer group coaching. If you guys are interested, just send me a message. I'll give you a fantastic deal on it. We got a private Facebook group and a lot of other stuff going on. So get into a coaching program because getting into a coaching program, you're going to be around like-minded individuals that are wanting to do more business than what they're doing today, right? Build a routine, build a schedule. Routine, man, I mean, that's what I thrive off of. I get up, I walk the dog, I drink some coffee, I go to the office. Every morning that I work is the same way. I listen to music on the way to it. Build a routine that puts you in the mindset and the mood to go out there and actually succeed and to go out there and work hard and to crush it every day. So number 9, avoid negative agents and negative people. Man, the quickest way to break down your mindset is to listen to these agents that tell you how bad the market is. If you start listening to them and they tell you over and over the market's bad, I tell you what, there are agents out there in the world. They're in the hottest markets in the country. Things are selling multiple offers in a day, and they are talking about the market being bad. The market is amazing. If you go get a listing, you're guaranteed a paycheck. Number 10, you got to be consistent. You have to build a schedule. You have to be consistent. Schedule your prospecting time. Guys, I usually prospect in the morning. I usually plan from about 8:30 to 11. If you do not put it in your schedule, it is not going to happen. Consistency is the key. It's like going to the gym. If you go work out and you get on the treadmill one time and you don't go back for a month, you wasted that time at the gym, right? Making calls are the same way. If you made calls one time this week and you're not going to make calls for another month, you're wasting time. You're never going to get good with your scripts. You're never going to get good with your dialogues. You're never going to get really good at listing property and going on appointments if you never go on but one. You know, it's like, what if there was a dentist that only filled one cavity a month? Is he really going to be really good at filling cavities? Guys, if you're interested in Redx, give them a call. You can go to the website jasonmorrisredx.com. Redx, if you call them, tell them I sent you Jason Morris with Real Estate Agents That Really Work. They will give you $150 off. They have some package deals and all kind of stuff. And guys, here's some helpful links. I'm going to upload this PDF to the group there, but there's my YouTube channel. JasonMorrisGroup.com is my group coaching thing. The Redx discount link is Jason Morris Redx. And of course, you guys, if you're listening to this, you're in Real Estate Agents That Really Work. I got one question here I want to answer real quick. How does role playing work, John? Role playing works because you're practicing the scripts and dialogues over and over again. And the thing to do is find another person that actually that's using the same scripts as you. You want to use the same scripts, right? And you guys both want to make calls. Role playing by itself doesn't do much. Now, I'll tell you, if you don't have a role play partner, if you need a role play partner, just make a post in Real Estate Agents That Really Work and say, hey, I need a role play partner. The best role playing though is to actually get on the phone calling sellers. That is the best role playing partner. Guys, I think I got one more question here, I believe. Does one need Cole Realty Services if they're using Redx? No, they don't. You can actually, Cole Realty Services is one-time fee, and that one-time fee is really, really kind of steep. You can actually get geo leads, and it does the same thing. John, you're in my group coaching, so actually the scripts are in the files section of my group coaching. Onyx is the only way to get email addresses. Yes, with Redx, Onyx is the only way to get email addresses. Well, guys, I tell you what, it's 9 a.m. I don't want to keep you any longer. I hope you guys have a really, really powerful day. Have a fantastic Monday. John, circle prospecting. John, you want to use geo leads to circle prospect. That's probably, and circle prospecting, that's a term that I just started hearing the last few years. Circle prospecting, where it is basically where you're calling neighborhoods. You're calling the whole neighborhood. So, guys, I will talk to you guys soon. I hope you guys have a powerful Monday. I hope you guys, really, really have a great week.